Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. I would like to today call your attention to two documents that appear on the public docket in Idaho versus Koberger, June 9th, 2023. The first is a stipulation, which is an agreement between the parties, and the second is an order granting the relief that's asked for in that stipulation signed by Judge John Judge. Let's focus our attention on the stipulation first, and be forewarned, this title is quite a mouthful. It states, quote, stipulation to temporarily seal, the stipulation to remove evidentiary items for forensic evaluation, and order allowing removal of evidentiary items for forensic evaluation pending hearing, end of quote. It takes a couple of times to read through this to understand that what the parties are basically asking for, and by the parties I mean Ann Taylor, who personally signed this stipulation on page 2, and William Thompson, who personally signed the stipulation also at page 2 on behalf of Mr. Koberger and the state of Idaho. You have to read it a few times to realize that they want the judge to enter an order temporarily sealing a stipulation to remove this evidentiary information. There was already an order that was entered. They want everything to remain outside the public's domain. That's what they're asking for, pending a hearing. What's their good cause for asking the court to seal this scientific information? And we don't know what it specifically relates to in the case. We can certainly take an educated guess that it had something to do with the testing of the knife sheath that was found on Madison Mogen's bed at 1122 King Road on the day of the crimes. So what's the reasons that they're given that the court should properly enter this relief? Number one, that if it's not entered, it would interfere with enforcement proceedings. Number two, deprive a person of a right to a fair trial or an impartial adjudication. That second reason here is undoubtedly referring to Mr. Koberger's Sixth Amendment rights to an impartial trial and adjudication. 3, constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Two things here. First, it's numbered 2 incorrectly. It really should say number 3. I believe that's a typographical error. Whose personal privacy? We've seen this over and over again. We don't know because everything is under seal. So we have no idea of whose personal privacy could be compromised and what extent and how it would be if this information was released. Number 3, this should really be 4 again. I think this is a typographical error. Disclose the identity of a confidential source. We're going to come back to that. And or 4 really should be 5. Disclose investigative techniques and procedures. That last one is undoubtedly referring to the Moscow Police Department and their agencies that they invited in to help them with the investigation at 1122 King Road. Remember, Moscow Police Department had jurisdiction over that investigation because the crimes happened in Moscow. So when they invite in the FBI, it's got to be by invitation by MPD, Moscow Police Department. So they're saying here that this could compromise the integrity of their procedures and investigation. Number 4, we've seen this before come up time and time again, that if evidence is made public, if a person's name is made public, that it could potentially threaten the disclosure of a confidential source. Now, this time we see this signed by Ms. Taylor as well as Mr. Thompson. So it's both of the sides agreeing to this, that this is a bona fide reason why this relief should be granted. And I think that this, in my opinion, should do away with any confusion, any debate that there was a confidential source that pointed the finger or helped to point the finger at Mr. Koberger. Judge did go ahead and enter an order granting this relief pending hearing. And if you would like to review those documents, please follow the link that I have provided in the description to this podcast. Thank you for joining us. Please join us again for our next episode here at the Indie Zone.